Welcome, KOTA territory, to KOTA's Political Pulse. Today we are talking about three measures that kind of passed the South Dakota legislature, talking about lab-grown meat. And to kind of talk a little bit about why these have passed is Doris Lowing. Really quickly, Doris, first of all, it's nice to see you here on KOTA's Political Pulse. Could you kind of give us a little introduction to who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Doris Lowing. I'm with the South Dakota Stock Growers. I'm their executive director, and yes, we have spent a lot of time in Pierre this year lobbying for similar bills, or lobbying against. There was a lot of taxation, a lot of eminent domain, brand bills, and of course the cell-cultured meat bills.
You know, kind of talking a little bit about those cell-cultured meat bills before we get into kind of the questioning here by our investigative reporter, Blake Troli. What exactly, could you give us a little recap for some of our viewers who are now just hearing about these bills? Really quickly, you're against cell culture, or at least lab-grown meat kind of specifically, right? So really quickly, can you give us a little bit about why that is?
Okay, number one, it shouldn't be called meat.
Okay.
That is the big thing. There's nothing in it about meat. It comes from cells from animals. The thing that we have major concerns with is what's in it. You know, we don't know. You know, we have young families that are, you know, watching what they have in food coloring, in dyes, and this is something that we should all be looking at. You know, would you rather go to the counter and see something that says cell-cultured or beef? So that's the key, is why are we not promoting beef when we have the best in the world?
Exactly. All right. Well, Blake, take the floor with the questions here.
So, well, I do want to go through some of the bills that passed, get your reaction on some of this. Just to recap what did actually end up happening in the legislature. We'll stick with the two key bills as far as the consumer is concerned. There were two bills that would have affected consumers, or one that will affect consumers, and that's the one that passed. This requires cell-cultured meat to be labeled, to be put on the packages of cell-cultured meat. For South Dakota stock growers, was this a concern of yours, is that this stuff was going to start hitting store shelves and that there really wouldn't be any way for the consumer to decipher between a steak and a lab-grown piece of beef?
It is, and one of the things that we've learned through this process, this is only in the testing stages, but we're trying to get a jump on things because, again, why would you want to buy something that you don't know what is in it, let alone, you know, what is calling it meat? It's not meat, and so if you're going to put it in the meat counter, people need to know that. So at least we got the bill, and I believe our legislators and senators felt the same way because it unanimously passed through both the House and the Senate, and it was one of the first bills that Governor Roden signed on February 10th. And that itself speaks loudly that everybody is concerned.
On a business side, would there be I've always wondered this with cell-cultured meat, lab-grown meat, would there be a pricing also difference? You know, they're not presumably running ranches, right? They don't have the same price, the same overhead that a ranch has. Was that a concern as well? Just the fact that you're going to have a similar product that's put on the shelves for a lot lower price than you know, standard beef, and again, with a consumer who might not know the difference between the two, might think they're getting a discount.
Correct. That is a concern, but there again, you know, it shouldn't even be on this counter. It should be over in with the processed foods. I mean, it should not even be in a meat counter. You know, it's just not meat.
So a bill that did not get through, and I know we spoke about this before, you said that you guys the South Dakota Stock Growers was in fact behind this bill. You guys were not behind it, but you wanted it to pass, was an all-out ban on cell-cultured meat. I spoke with the lawmaker who rolled that bill out. I actually spoke with him this morning, and he had said the intention behind that bill was to let the product hit the market for like 10 years, get an idea of kind of what the effects would be of people consuming lab-grown meat over that 10 years, and then possibly allow it. And he said, look, if studies had come out within that 10 years that called for or that showed that there was a safety to eating lab-grown meat, he'd be okay with them, you know, lifting it. What was your reason behind supporting that bill, and can you kind of just give us your reaction on that bill not getting through, and where South Dakota stock growers stands on that?
Sure. All three of these bills, that was all with cell-cultured meat, fake meat. Those all kind of dropped at the same time. And the other two made common sense. This one we had to research a little bit because, you know, we're not against the free enterprise system. That is one thing, but when we dug a little deeper, it's the contents within this. And if you would have, say there is a price difference, consumers are buying it, then what's happening to our beef market? What is actually happening to real meat? And, you know, that is going to have a bearing on it. Secondly, the other thing that we concerned ourselves with was if you're getting this cheaper, then you're going to probably start feeding your schools. And then you're probably going to start going to the nursing homes. And then you're, you know, all these amenities that should be getting real protein, not fake.
Yeah, when I talked to Representative Jarda about this, he had said essentially that this labeling law, one of the things that he was concerned about was what you're talking about, that there's going to be places where they're able to serve it that there really wouldn't be any labeling. People might not know what they're consuming.
Yeah, restaurants, you might go in and order it and they don't know, and if they can make a killing doing that. So yes, we need to know that, and so the labeling, there is quite a few states that have addressed this year, especially this bill of the sale and manufacturing of this. And like I said, we are ahead of the game. So I think you're probably going to see it next year, probably, more than likely. And this time we might beef it up a little bit. So I know some states have it where they can't serve it in state amenities or in these nursing homes and such. If we could at least get over that hump, then it just comes down to the consumer. So I think you're going to see it back, and I think we are still gonna want this out of our system.
I was going to say, are you formally calling for legislators to bring that bill back next session?
I think we need to revise it. We've done that with a lot of our bills. Sometimes if it doesn't make it where it needs to go, you need to fine tune them. And I think we have a great crew in Pierre, and I think they probably will bring it back because it was very close, as you said. It was just
down to one vote.
Down to one vote that killed it. So I think educating the public and doing things like this is to educating the people who are going to be buying it. I think our voters need to know that.
I know there was the only concerns I heard about the bill with all-out banning it from the ranching community. We spoke to the Cattlemen's Association about this. And I believe, I'd have to go back, this was like an interview we did a couple weeks ago, but if memory serves me correct, there was a little bit of a concern that it could set a precedent that then backfires, if this makes enough sense, on the beef industry.
Yeah.
You know, people in the past, I'm sure you've seen certain efforts against beef itself. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, in the state of South Dakota. But is that a concern of yours?
Well, it's been a concern for a long time, and we want to thank Senator Thune to bringing this back to us because he put the MCOOL bill back on the table. And if you're going to start labeling fake meat, then let's start labeling country of origin labeling. So I would see that should go through before we have concerns of adding another amenity to beef.
Yeah,
Humberto, do you want to?
I mean, talking a little bit about, because something that stood out to me is that, you know, it is the use of fake meat, right? So what exactly, at least to your knowledge, what goes into some of this fake meat that you are saying?
We don't know.
Okay.
They take cells and then they put them in Petri dishes, and how they make them grow and what they use to enhance that and what they use to preserve that, we have no clue. There is not an ingredient list yet. And, you know, there's very little of it being processed and cultured at this point.
Right.
So
if that ingredient list was to come out, I mean, it were to come out and it showed that, you know, maybe there are aspects of meat in it, would you still be on board of calling it, you know, because I know you have a very big stance in saying it's fake meat. Would you be on board if that ingredient list came out and said that there are some portions of meat in it? Would you be okay with it being called meat still?
Cells are not counted as as beef. I mean, they are not
Right.
meat. It is fake meat. You know, I think a few years ago you seen where they wanted to do the veggie burger in a certain local chain. Well, that kind of went on the flop side.
Right.
You know, and we don't have a problem with people, you know, choosing their lifestyles and eating what they want to eat,
Right.
but there is salads, we should not try to reproduce beef. We are the biggest and best producers of that commodity. Why are we not promoting, why are we not taking the money and promoting it more into beef like what they do with the checkoff dollars? You know, we're promoting beef, so are they going to create something else to help promote this? So that brings us to that third bill, is to receive state funding to be able to manufacture, you know, explore everything with this fake meat. And, you know, if we're going to do something, let's promote the products that we raise. Do we have fake corn? Do we have fake wheat? You know, do we things that need to stay the way they were meant to stay? And that's what we put in our bodies. It's the chemicals that we all enhance everything with that we are uncertain about.
Full disclosure, when I was a breaking news reporter, I ate almost every meal out of a gas station, so I probably did eat a fake one of a lot of the things that you just named.
It probably had words in it a mile long that you could not pronounce, nor did you want to even try.
Well, Doris, we really do appreciate you coming in. Is there anything you want to leave us with on this topic?
No, just, you know, it's good. Thank you guys for doing this. The education portion of educating our public. And I think our public does want to know that whether it's MCOOL or whether it's, you know, this, you know, we see a lot in the news these days about the red food dyes.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're raising children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and you want your people to be healthy. You want that. You don't want to see things that come to the future that's going to cause medical conditions. And we have no clue. And as you had said with the good senator that you had spoke with, yeah, it's going to take time, but we have to have everything in place. And so therefore, kudos to our legislators who at least got 2 of the bills intact. And I think we probably, as this moves forward, we'll probably see more.
Okay, Doris, really do appreciate your time coming in today.
Absolutely, thank you.
Well, thank you, Doris, and thank you, Blake, for kind of being here and kind of making sure that all the questions run smoothly and whatnot, right?
I know, you know, when it
But-
comes to steak, I pay attention to the legislation. That's when I start paying more attention than other topics.
No,
Yes,
that's 100% fair. But thank you most of all for tuning into KOTA's Political Pulse today. We hope to see you again next Monday. But for now, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. See ya.